The story begins with a powerful vision experienced by the prophet Ezekiel during a dark time in Israel's history. Ezekiel is taken by the Spirit of the Lord to a valley that is filled with countless dry bones stretched across the ground. These bones are not fresh or alive, but are completely dried out, scattered everywhere, showing a picture of death and hopelessness. The sight is overwhelming, a vast valley covered with bleached bones that rattle when touched, symbolizing the lifeless state of a nation that seems beyond saving. At this moment, the people of Israel were living in exile, feeling cut off from their homeland and their God, believing completely that their future was lost. God asks Ezekiel a deep and challenging question. Son of man, can these bones live? Ezekiel honestly answers that only God knows. This question is not just about the bones, but about the possibility of hope and restoration for a people who feel hopeless. Then God commands Ezekiel to prophesy over the bones, to speak life to something dead, to declare that God will bring breath and flesh and skin to these bones. This command is startling because it calls Ezekiel to speak words that seem impossible. Yet it is a call to faith, a message that even when all seems lost, God's power can restore life. As Ezekiel begins to speak the prophecy, a strange thing happens. The dry bones start making noise. They come together bone by bone. Tendons and muscles begin to form over the bones, and skin covers them completely. However, even with this incredible transformation, the bodies are still not alive. They lack the breath of life. This moment is filled with tension and anticipation because the final step, the breath, the spirit that animates life, is still missing. It reminds the listener that physical restoration alone is not enough without the spirit God provides. Then God commands Ezekiel to prophesy to the breath and calls it to come from the four winds and breathe into the bodies so they may live. When Ezekiel obeys, breath enters the bodies and the once lifeless figures stand up, forming a vast and mighty army. This powerful image represents not only physical revival, but also spiritual awakening, hope, and the promise of new life where there was once only death. This vision proclaims that God alone has the power to renew what seems lost and to restore a nation from destruction and despair. This vision of the dry bones is more than a simple story. It is a symbolic message to the people of Israel in exile. It shows that no matter how dry and hopeless their condition appears, God can create new life. He promises to gather his scattered people, restore their bodies, give them a spirit, and bring them back to their land. This message offers deep hope to those who feel broken or lost. It reassures that God's power to restore life is unstoppable, even in the darkest valleys of despair. The vision also connects back to the very beginning of humanity, when God breathed life into Adam, forming him from the dust and making him a living being. Here, God is seen as the one who can bring life back to the dead bones of his people, much like he gave life to the first man. This connection suggests that restoration is a divine act of creation. New life comes from God's breath, giving hope not only to a physical nation, but also to individuals who feel spiritually dead. The Valley of Dry Bones becomes a lasting symbol of God's restoration power, a promise that life will triumph over death. Ezekiel's vision of the dry bones holds a deep and powerful symbolism that reveals the condition of Israel during a time of great despair. The dry bones represent the whole house of Israel, scattered and lifeless as if the nation itself had been destroyed. This image shows how completely hopeless the people felt, cut off from their land, their temple, and their God. Their spirits were broken. They felt like they were in a state of living death. The exile in Babylon had drained their strength and hope, scattering them far from home and dividing the nation. This spiritual barrenness left them believing that restoration was impossible. The dryness of the bones is a key part of the symbolism. Dry bones show that the owners had been dead for a very long time, left exposed and forgotten. This represents not just physical death, but deep spiritual death, a loss of life and vitality. The people of Israel saw themselves as these dry bones, empty and hopeless, longing for a time when God would restore them. Their identity as God's chosen was challenged, but the vision reminds them that despite appearances, God has not abandoned them. The bones symbolize total lifelessness, a national condition that seemed final and irreversible. Yet God's promise through Ezekiel is that life can return even to this state. God's command to Ezekiel to prophesy to the bones shows that only God's word can bring about restoration. This is not something that human effort can fix on its own. The act of speaking to the dry bones symbolizes God's power to bring hope and life where there is despair and death. It highlights the importance of faith and obedience. Even when the situation appears hopeless, the word of the Lord holds the power to renew. Ezekiel's prophecy over the bones signals that God will gather the scattered people and restore them physically and spiritually. This promise is not just about a physical return to land, but also about the restoration of the spirit and identity of Israel. The vision also points beyond the immediate future. It foreshadows not only Israel's national restoration, but also spiritual resurrection and renewal. The same Spirit who gave life to Adam is the one who breathes life into these dry bones. This breath is the Spirit of God, the creative force that can restore life and hope. It suggests a transformation that is more than physical. It is spiritual rebirth. The imagery reminds believers today that in God's hands, even the driest and most lifeless situations can be turned into new beginnings. It reassures that while people may feel spiritually empty or broken, God's Spirit can revive and renew. There is also a future dimension to the prophecy where the reunification of Israel and Judah will happen, and a new kingdom will be established under a faithful leader. This points to a future hope and peace, a time when God's covenant will be fully restored. The dry bones metaphor extends to all people who experience spiritual dryness or despair, promising that God can bring restoration and life. This vision, though given thousands of years ago, speaks directly to anyone feeling lost or hopeless. It emphasizes that no situation is beyond God's power to heal and renew. The message also challenges readers to reflect personally on their spiritual state. The dry bones can symbolize anyone who feels disconnected from God, spiritually dead, or overwhelmed by life's hardships. The call is to believe in God's promise to restore and to trust His ability to bring life from death. This vision is both a promise and an invitation to experience God's renewing power today. It reminds that restoration comes through God's Spirit and Word, which bring hope to the broken and life to the lifeless. The vision given to Ezekiel carries a powerful promise from God about restoration and renewal. At the time the vision was revealed, the people of Israel were feeling defeated and forgotten because of their exile in Babylon. They believed their nation was dead, scattered like dry bones, with no hope of coming back together. However, God showed Ezekiel a vision that promised not only physical restoration, but spiritual renewal as well. This promise was not just a wishful thought, but a divine assurance that God would bring His people back to life. It reveals the unmatched power of God to restore what seems lost and hopeless. As Ezekiel prophesied to the bones, the first sign of restoration appeared. The bones rattled and came together, forming bodies. Then, tendons, flesh, and skin covered the bones. Yet, despite this miraculous reassembly, the bodies were not alive. This part of the vision teaches a critical lesson. Restoration is a process, and there is more to renewal than just rebuilding the physical. True life comes only when God's breath or spirit enters and animates the body. This illustrates the need for both physical and spiritual revival, emphasizing that God is the source of real and lasting life. God then commanded Ezekiel to prophesy to the breath, calling it from the four winds to breathe into the bodies. When the breath entered, the bodies came to life and stood up as a mighty army. This moment symbolizes not just the resurrection of a nation, but the renewal of hope, spirit, and identity. It points to the future when God will restore the entire nation of Israel, giving them new life and bringing them back to their land. The vision assures that restoration will be complete because it comes directly from God's power and promise. The promise also includes a covenant between God and the people, signifying an eternal relationship. God assures they will no longer be scattered or left destroyed, but will live in peace under His protection. This covenant is a sign of God's deep commitment to His people and a guarantee of their future security. It signals a new beginning where the people will live in obedience and harmony, united under a faithful leader who will guide them in God's ways. This vision is a hopeful message that no matter how dire the current situation, God's plan includes a glorious restoration. Importantly, this promise does not only apply to physical restoration, but speaks deeply to spiritual revival as well. The Spirit God breathes into the people represents renewal of faith, hope, and relationship with Him. Without this spiritual life, the people would remain broken and lost like the dry bones scattered in the valley. But God's promise includes restoring their hearts and spirits, enabling them to live fully as His chosen people again. The restoration is both national and personal, bringing new life to all who trust in God's word and spirit. Finally, the vision and its promise extend beyond Ezekiel's time and point forward to messianic hope. It speaks of a new Davidic king who will rule with justice and peace and establishes an everlasting covenant with God. This future hope assures that restoration will not be temporary, but will lead to a lasting kingdom of peace and faithfulness. The vision of dry bones is a message of transformation, from death to life, despair to hope, and exile to homecoming. It reminds all who hear it that with God, restoration is always possible, and new life can spring from the driest and most hopeless places. Ezekiel's vision of the valley filled with dry bones is deeply connected to the history of Israel and the context of their exile. To fully understand the power of this vision, we need to look at the situation facing the Israelites at that time. They were living far away from their homeland after Jerusalem had been destroyed by the Babylonians. Their temple was gone, their king dethroned, and their nation scattered among foreign peoples. This history of loss created great despair, with many believing their identity as God's chosen people was lost forever. The valley full of dry bones represents this desolation, expressing the spiritual and national death felt by the exiles. The vision also reflects the lasting consequences of Israel's rebellion and sin. The people had turned away from God, worshiping idols and rejecting His laws, which led to God allowing their judgment through exile and destruction. This punishment was not meant to be permanent, but served as a way to bring the people to repentance. The dry bones symbolize the result of this judgment. The nation was lifeless, broken, and scattered. Yet, God's vision shows that even after judgment, restoration is still possible. God's hand is at work, even in this valley of death, to bring about his plan for renewal and hope. Historically, Israel had experienced cycles of rebellion, judgment, and restoration, but this exile was different. It was long and painful, causing many to doubt whether restoration was possible. They felt cut off from God's presence and feared they would never return to their land. The vision reassures that God has not abandoned them and that their current suffering is not the end. Just as God promised to bring them out of Egypt and into the Promised Land, he will also bring this exiled and broken people back home. The vision is a message of comfort amid despair, showing that God can restore even the most hopeless situations. The valley in the vision symbolizes a real place of devastation, where death and decay dominate. But it also serves as a spiritual landscape representing the state of Israel's soul. The dry bones depict those who have lost faith and hope, lying in sin and separation from God. The vision calls to God's power to revive hearts and unite a divided people. It echoes the ancient promise that God will one day gather his scattered people from all corners of the earth. This promise is found in later prophecies that speak of a day when Israel will be fully restored, spiritually alive, and dwelling in peace. In addition, the vision prepares the way for future events in biblical history. It foretells the reunification of Israel and Judah, and the rise of a new anointed king from David's line. This king will lead the people with justice and bring an era of peace under God's covenant. This messianic hope points beyond Ezekiel's immediate time and looks forward to an ultimate restoration. The valley of dry bones becomes a symbol of God's faithfulness and power to redeem an entire nation, no matter how broken or dispersed. Finally, this chapter of Ezekiel serves as a reminder that history is shaped by God's purposes. The vision urges the people to trust in God's plans rather than despair over their circumstances. Even when everything seems lost, God's promise and power can bring new life. The story of the dry bones encourages believers to see beyond their present troubles and hold on to hope. It shows that restoration is part of God's lasting covenant with his people, a promise that cannot be broken, no matter how dry the bones may seem. The vision of dry bones experienced by Ezekiel centuries ago finds a modern and powerful connection in the rebirth of Israel as a nation in the year 1948. After centuries of dispersion and exile, the Jewish people returned to their homeland, restoring the country of Israel on the world stage. This moment was unexpected by many and seen by some as miraculous, echoing the promises declared in Ezekiel's vision. It was as if the scattered dry bones had been gathered, given flesh, and brought to life once again. The establishment of Israel in 1948 represents a fulfillment of prophecy and a sign of hope for a people long scattered and oppressed. The modern restoration of Israel was not without struggle. It came after years of hardship, including persecution, war, and displacement. Yet, despite these challenges, a collective determination and hope grew among the Jewish people to return and rebuild their ancient homeland. This spirit of renewal corresponds closely to the prophetic words spoken to Ezekiel, where restoration was more than physical. It was about identity, culture, and faith coming back to life. The vision captured the essence of national revival, with the people rising again to claim their place in history. This momentous event marks the beginning of a new chapter in Israel's long story of survival and resilience. Ezekiel's vision serves as a spiritual frame for understanding the significance of the rebirth of Israel. The Valley of Dry Bones symbolizes not just a political or geographical event, but a deeper spiritual awakening and renewal of a nation's soul. The gathering of the bones in the vision reflects the regathering of Jewish people from all over the world. The breath and spirit that bring the bones to life in Ezekiel's prophecy symbolize the renewed life of Judaism, culture, and hope, revived throughout Israel. The rebirth of the nation was a living fulfillment of God's promise to restore his people and heal what was once broken. This revival also carries a universal message beyond Israel alone. It reminds people everywhere that no matter how broken or lost a community or nation may seem, restoration is always possible with faith and determination. The vision encourages all who feel despair to believe in new beginnings. Israel's rebirth is a testament to the enduring power of hope, faith, and the fulfillment of divine promises. It shows that history can be shaped by faith and that God's word continues to speak into the present and future. In addition to the physical restoration, the event in 1948 also sparked renewed interest in the biblical prophecies about the Messiah and the coming kingdom of peace. Many saw the return of Israel as a sign that other promises would soon follow, including the reign of a new Davidic king who would lead with justice. This hope for the future is deeply rooted in Ezekiel's vision and other prophetic scriptures, linking the past, present, and future in a vision of divine restoration. The resurgence of Israel gives fuel to this hope, signaling that the final fulfillment of prophecy may be near. Finally, the rebirth of Israel in 1948 calls for reflection on the meaning of faith and restoration today. It challenges people to hold on to hope in difficult times and trust that renewal is always possible. The vision of dry bones is not only a story from the past, but also a living message for the present and future. It reminds us that with God's power, even what seems dead and forgotten can come back to life. The story of Ezekiel's vision and Israel's rebirth encourages us to believe in the unstoppable power of hope and resurrection. The vision of the dry bones in Ezekiel is much more than an ancient story. It carries a timeless message of hope and renewal that speaks to individuals and nations alike. Even after centuries, the image of dry bones coming to life inspires faith in the power of restoration. This hope is not just about physical revival, but about spiritual transformation, reminding us that God's Spirit can bring life to even the driest and most broken places. The collective renewal promised in the vision invites believers to trust in a power greater than human limitations. This hope encourages communities to rise from despair and build a future shaped by faith and perseverance. Collective renewal means that the restoration Ezekiel prophesied is not for a few, but for all who belong to the people of God. This unity is emphasized in the vision as bones come together to form a great army. It symbolizes a people who were scattered, divided, and lifeless, becoming one again, strong and alive. This restoration involves forgiveness, healing of broken relationships, and rebuilding trust. It is a picture of what can happen when a community turns to God and embraces His promises. The vision calls everyone to be part of this renewed life and collective hope. Faith plays a crucial role in this renewal process. Ezekiel's obedience to prophesy to the dry bones shows the importance of trusting God's promises even when things seem impossible. Faith is the bridge between despair and hope. It is what makes the vision more than just an image and turns it into a living reality. This faith is both personal and communal, encouraging each individual and the whole nation to believe in God's power to restore. It challenges believers to stand firm, even when surrounded by desolation, trusting that God's Spirit will bring new life. The vision also points toward a future where renewal leads to peace and stability. God promises to bring his people back to their land and establish them under a covenant of peace. This peace is more than just the absence of conflict. It is a deep relationship with God and harmony among his people. The restoration is complete when the Spirit of God dwells in the hearts of the renewed people. This future hope brings comfort and purpose, showing that restoration is not merely physical, but also spiritual and eternal. Moreover, the vision reminds us that restoration sometimes begins in small, unseen ways before it becomes visible. Just like the dry bones did not come to life instantly, renewal can be a gradual process requiring patience and persistence. The breath of life from God's Spirit is the key that animates all restoration efforts. This breath symbolizes hope, renewal, and the continuation of God's work through generations. It invites believers to cooperate with God's Spirit in building a future filled with faith and unity. In conclusion, Ezekiel's vision of the dry bones challenges us to hold on to hope and believe in the possibility of transformation. It encourages collective renewal through faith, inviting all to participate in God's plan for restoration. The vision is a powerful reminder that even in the darkest moments, life can emerge and flourish again. This timeless message of hope speaks to every generation, assuring us that with God, nothing is impossible and resurrection is always within reach.